Hi everyone. So today I'm going to do a yellow eyeshadow look, which is one of my favorites. I kind of discovered a few years ago that yellow is actually a really good color for me, and I really like it for eyeshadow. So today I'm going to be using the Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag palette, and this is the brand that was created by Manny MUA here on YouTube, and this is what the inside looks like. I'm sure you have seen it before. So I'll be using this yellow shade and like the kind of cooler brown, and we'll see if I do anything else. It's gonna be super basic because most of my eye looks are pretty basic. So I'm just gonna get into it. I'm using the Essence I Love Color Intensifying Eyeshadow Base, and I'll zoom in a little bit. And I like this one because it is light, but it's not white. It's kind of a pink tone. A lot of primers that have color to them tend to be too dark for me, and they are, you know, quite a bit darker than the foundation color I'm using. So then if I take it all the way up to my brows and don't put anything on top, it's a little kind of disconnected. But this is pretty brightening if you have very fair skin. And I find that it holds on to shadow well. It helps, you know, the colors be a little bit more intense and not fade or crease. And it's a good price. So when I really want good performance out of an eyeshadow, I'll use these. A lot of times lately I've been using concealer, but I find that that's a little bit more, that relies more on like the formula of the eyeshadow. So if the eyeshadow is not superb at lasting power or not creasing, then I'll get some creasing. So the first shade I'm gonna go into is Hunty. Now that sounds awkward when I say it. They do, as you can see, have a good amount of powder kickback, which I don't really care about. What I do is I tap my brush over the shadow, so any excess powder just goes back into the shadow, and then when I go in to dip next time, I just pick up the loose powder. It seems like that is not the approach a lot of people take, but I find that way I'm not wasting products, and it's not getting everywhere. So kick up really doesn't bother me all that much. It's easier to work with it's definitely easier if a shadow doesn't do that, and I would prefer that they didn't, but since so many formulas do nowadays, that's just the way that I work around it, and it works for me. Next I'm going to take Campy, which is the bright yellow shade here, and I'm just using a flat shader brush. This is the MAC 239. Do they not make this anymore? I feel like that's a thing that happened. So this shade definitely works better just like patting it on as opposed to like swiping. A lot of shimmery shades these days need to be like pulled across and don't work so great patting, but confirmed this one works a lot better patting. I've used this yellow maybe 3 times. So you have to forgive me if I don't really remember. And then I'm just gonna go back into my same brush that I put the crease color in, just kind of blend a little bit. It's gonna pull a little yellow up into the crease. I do try to keep it out of my inner corners because it starts, if it's not like full intensity, it will start looking kind of sickly when I have the yellow in my inner corner. So I am gonna probably use my highlight for the day to highlight that, because there is not a shimmer that's light enough in this palette, and I don't think the white is gonna be like strong enough to really mask any of the yellow that did get kind of transferred down there. So I do see some yellow kind of fallout down here. So I'm gonna do a little wiping, because it's not a lot, but it's just kind of like a yellow tinge. And I like to make sure, because I already have some yellowness happening in this area, I don't really need to enhance that appearance. I'm going to take a black liquid liner. I really, really like the look of yellow lids with a nice black liquid line. But if I struggle getting my liner to look good, which is pretty regularly, I don't do wings because my eye shape really is not conducive to a wing. But sometimes, you know, I'll struggle with like the skin on my lids kind of bunching up and causing the line to look kind of wobbly, and then it gets too thick, whatever. If I have trouble with that, then I'll go in with a powder eyeshadow over it. So we'll see what happens today. So the other thing I try to check on is if when I have my eyes totally open with my eyebrows relaxed, does what's happening right now, is it happening? So you see on this eye where, because I don't have a ton of lid space, it's like right on the edge of, if I look totally straightforward, you can still see a little eyeshadow between the line and my crease. When I'm looking into the camera, since it's a little bit up, it kind of disappears. And then I have a little bit more lid space on this eye, so it's more likely that this one won't do it as much as my right one, because this one just kind of hangs down a little further. So I feel like when that happens, when I've gone too far, I've gone too thick, what I usually will do is go in and kind of add a shadow to like soften it a little bit, and I find that it looks less harsh and really helps the appearance of when I've made that line too thick and I've lost the color on my lid. So I can't decide if I want to do that today or not. I mean, it is looking a little wobbly, so I think I will go over it with one of the browns in this palette. I think I'll take Mug here, so it's the deepest brown. I'm gonna use an angled eyebrow brush actually for this, just so I can kind of control where it's going a little bit better. Sometimes if I use like a pencil brush, it ends up getting the color, there's too much color, too spread out too quickly. What? How did this happen? But see how it's like, it's still a pretty dark line, but it's just a little bit hazy at the edges, which I think is a really useful thing when you have kind of looser eyelid skin, you know, if you're a little older. I have had pretty loose eyelid skin for a while, and I'm only 38, so I'm gonna go in with mascara. I might change my mind and decide to add a little bit of something deeper to the crease, but right now I'm gonna go with it and see how it looks once I have the rest of my makeup on, and then decide. And I also still will be doing something at my lower lash line, but again, I don't know what yet. So I'm using the Benefit Roller Lash, which I surprisingly like quite a lot. All right, for my inner corner, I'm using, since we're doing Manny's palette, I thought I would do Nikki Tutorials collaboration with Ochre, the Everglow palette. And this white shade, I believe, is Glazed Donut. I'm not 100% sure, but this is the Everglow palette. And this is actually available in the bundle with the liquid lipsticks from Nordstrom Rack for like 18 bucks. It's super, super cheap right now. I like how I'm holding this like this. Like, am I gonna look in the lid? So I just want like super intense, frosty, metallic inner corner. And that's also what I used on my face. I want it to be very glowy. And this delivers. And these are also really nice for eyeshadow. I recently did a look that I posted on Instagram with this color on my lid. So pretty. And it wore really well. Some highlighters I find will go on nicely, but then they don't wear very well during the day, and that one wears excellently as an eyeshadow. So on my lower lash line, I think I'm gonna keep it super basic and just keep the yellow off there because I feel like my under eye is already looking a tiny bit yellow. So I'm just gonna go back to that Hunty shade. I sound like such a goober saying that. Here, which is just kind of that neutral to cool brown on my lower lash line. I'm actually gonna take the same brush and just go in with my little J-Cat version of the color switch, just to get any of that highlight shade off. And it still looks kind of yellow because I use yellow on a regular basis, so the brushes that have not been cleaned are kind of yellow stained. And I think I am just gonna put a little bit more of the crease color like right here, just to add a tiny bit of depth, connecting the crease back to like that lower lash line and the edge of my upper lash line. Sometimes I leave that space open, so it's like that whole lid color just kind of stops here and then the crease color stops here. But generally, to kind of like enhance my more round eye shape, I do just stick a little bit right in here. And I like this IT Cosmetics brush for that. It's IT brushes for Ulta, and it's the number 124, and it says it's an airbrush precision smudger. So I like it for things like this. I like it on the lower lash line. It's just like it's a densely packed brush, but the cut to it is tapered, so I feel like you can get a little blending along with placement. And it's not floppy at all. It's a nice little brush. All right, I'm gonna do lower lash mascara. Kind of reminds me of Clump Crusher, but it builds up volume better. I have a hard time getting Clump Crusher to get much volume without having to do like 2 distinct coats. And for lips, I mean, I could do a nude lip, but I feel like blue eyes, yellow lid, I kind of have to do a red lip just to have a play on the primary colors. I think it looks so good. So I'm going to use also what I used. This is very similar to a look I posted on Instagram that I loved. I loved how that look came out, and I'll insert a picture here. I was wearing a really vibrant blue shirt and I just loved it. So this is kind of a recreation of that. So this is the M Cosmetics Infinite Lip Cloud in Crimson Red. It's a tiny bit deeper than kind of a standard red, but still quite bright. And I love this formula. It smells great, it wears great, it's comfortable. It's not a fully dry down transfer proof style liquid lip, but that means it's also has the potential to be a lot more comfortable. So I wanted to offer some like alternatives for yellow eyeshadows, and I was going to mention this one because it's a really good deal, but it appears that it has been discontinued and they don't have it available anymore. And it's the Sephora Colorful Eyeshadow in number 215. I think it was called like Sunglasses Needed or something. This was the first like bright yellow shadow that I bought, and I really liked it, but unfortunately it's not around anymore. I've done a very similar look with this palette, and it's the Colourpop Yes Please palette. And this one is, I think, their first palette they made. Anyway, the yellow in this is really nice. I believe they also have a single eyeshadow in a yellow. I know Maybelline has their Lemonade Craze palette, but from what I gather, it does not have the best, like they're kind of dusty and fluff away. I don't know if that is 100% accurate, but that's what I recall gathering from the few people I saw that used that palette. So there are more options, I feel like, now. I bought that really vibrant yellow from Sephora, and at the time there wasn't a whole lot of options for a good solid yellow. There's also the NYX Ultimate Brights palette, and I believe that has a good yellow in it as well. And from what I remember, Jay Kissa on YouTube is a huge fan of that palette, and she really likes yellows and oranges, so I'm guessing if she likes that palette, it probably has a good one in it. But it is a little more expensive. I think it's around $18. Which is why I have not purchased it, because it always just felt like it's a little much. Anyway, I love yellow eyeshadows, so I hope this gave you some ideas if you were thinking about doing a yellow eyeshadow look. Maybe a way to make it look a little bit more wearable. I do feel like it kind of depends on your skin tone and the depth of your skin tone, like what kind of yellow tone will work best on you. I'm a fan of yellows in general. I know, you know, a lot of people had pretty negative experiences with it, but the Subversion, not Subversion, the Subculture palette from Anastasia, I got a good one. I really like it, and I love this color edge, though I do feel like it oxidizes a tiny bit, so it looks a little bit darker throughout the day as I wear it. But I mean, I love the color combinations in this one, and I do know that I believe Makeup Revolution has a palette that has these same color tones. So if you're looking for a more like mustardy yellow at a good price, I think that's a good one. Another one of the kind of original mustards that I really got into was this golden ochre shade in the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. For me, I feel like my Subculture and Modern Renaissance are the same formula. They both have a lot of kick-up powder, but not an excessive amount. I don't have issues with patchiness or anything like that. So, single shadows. This is just becoming a video about yellows. So, single shadows for kind of a more brown take on mustard. Paper Tiger from Colourpop, which I know is one of their best-selling shades. Desert Sands from Makeup Geek, also a nice, slightly more brown mustard, yellowy kind of shade. I really enjoy both of those. I think that's all I wanted to say about this look. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, whatever. If you like yellow eyeshadow or you're thinking about picking one up, what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear from you. If you want to see more videos from me, please do subscribe. I do a lot of foundation related content, really fair skin kind of content, stuff like that. So yeah. If you want to see my face more, then subscribe. I would love to have you as a subscriber. Thank you so much for watching and commenting, taking that time out of your day. I so appreciate it. I have 3 kids. The youngest is a 4-month-old. I totally understand. Like, it's a pretty big decision when you're busy. What are you going to do with your time that you have to, you know, do some entertaining stuff? And I so appreciate that you would take that time to watch my videos. And leaving a comment, a like, all that stuff. It helps my channel so much, and I really like talking to you guys. It makes it worth it for me to make videos. So I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.